This is the new Lexus LBX. It's going to be the company's smallest car yet. And interestingly, it's the first car since the LFA to have 3 letters in its name. That name, LBX, stands for Lexus Breakthrough Crossover. And this is indeed an entry-level breakthrough crossover in Lexus speak, at least. It's built on a similar platform to the Toyota Yaris Cross, which is a very, very good car, but there's a lot more to it than just a simple reskinning of this car. It's got a slightly different engine inside. It is still a 1.5 litre engine, hybrid, obviously, and it also now has a balancer shaft inside to make it a little bit smoother, a little bit quieter. Produces 136 horsepower and 185 newton meters of torque, perfectly adequate for a car of this size. And Lexus says it will do in city driving around about 50% or thereabouts using only the battery to power it along. So that's pretty good if you live in an urban setting. Now, what else has changed? Well, first of all, we'll talk about the design. It is an all new look. If you think this doesn't really look like some of the other Lexus cars you're used to seeing, well, you're right. It has a whole new design language that is going to be ushered in with this car and continue through to future models. That includes this kind of design here, that this kind of groove that comes through here. You've got different types of headlights here, and the spindle grille has been reworked. So it now sits below the center line here. And it's a little bit different. It's kind of nice how it blends in with the rest of the bodywork here. There's certainly a lot of lines. The design overall, well, it is a little bit generic, maybe. There's a lot of cars in this kind of space. It's very hard to make them all look different to each other. There are, if you look closely and use your imagination, a few bits of other models in there, but it is certainly a fresh design. It's something a little bit different. As we come along the side of the car, you can see where some of those crossover aspects are. You've got this kind of cladding around the wheel arches here. You have it along the bottom as well. But there's a lot of nice features, such as the e-latch system. So you don't have a traditional door handle that you pull. There's a button just inside. So as soon as you press it, it just releases the door. It's very, very nice. Lexus used this on its larger cars. It works great. We'll talk on the inside a little bit more in a few moments. Just want to carry through the rest of the car. There will be a couple of different variants of this available in the Irish market. There's going to be effectively a base model and then 2 other versions on top of that, kind of in a Y shape, one of which will be called Emotion and the other will be called Elegant. The Emotion will have a contrasting black roof, unlike what you see here. It does look pretty good. But there's going to be a pretty wide color palette as well. You've got 18-inch wheels, and then around the back, as you come around, you'll sort of see again where Lexus has changed this design now. The number plate is down low. You have the Lexus name spelt out, LBX badging, and you have this light bar that runs all the way across. Practically speaking, it does have okay boot space, not huge for its segment. There's just around about 330 or so litres inside, but it's not huge. The only good thing is that it has quite a wide aperture, so that's pretty good. And obviously you've got 60-40 split folding rear seats, so very easy to drop those down. If you do want to load in a little bit more space, you can simply drop them down like so, and they do actually fold pretty much flat all the way through. So if you do need to load in bigger, bulkier items, you can do that. And the other convenience is that it's an electrically operated tailgate. On the interior of the LBX, it is very much like a Lexus in a lot of ways. The quality overall is pretty good. You've got a 12.3-inch digital instrument display, which, to be honest, has kind of become, standard fare in all segments. But it's nicely laid out. It's got good graphics. It's very easy to read. Lexus does also offer an option of adding a color head-up display here as well, and that's it's pretty basic stuff, but all your speed there, navigation, all that kind of stuff can be relayed there directly into your eye line, so that's pretty good. Speaking of eye line, you do get fairly good visibility. Lexus has tried to slim down the A pillars of the car here on either side of the windscreen and bring them back a little bit more to improve the angle that you can see out of. It makes it a little bit safer, makes it easier to spot vulnerable road users. So that's always a good thing. And even though you sit a little bit lower in this car than you would in some of its other rivals, it's not bad. You don't feel like you're sitting up high, certainly, but it's a pretty decent seating position. And there's a lot of adjustability. On this particular version, this seat is electrically adjustable, so that's pretty good. And there's also a very good amount of adjustment for the steering wheel here, so plenty of scope to find a suitable driving position. Now, apart from the digital instrument display, you've got the ignition button right up here. It's all part of how Lexus does its interiors, makes it all very nice, very intuitive. There's a 9.3-inch infotainment system here. It's quite nicely done. It's a very kind of square design. The thing I do like about it is that there are physical buttons attached to this. So they are very small, but you've got small little buttons here for adjusting the temperature up and down. That's a great thing. It means you're not fiddling around with pressing a touchscreen and looking at it. You can just simply look over while you're driving without taking your eyes off the road. Make it a little bit hotter, a little bit cooler, as you wish. Other features that are there, you still got a proper volume knob. Again, this is a simple thing, but so many people are just moving away from this. So we have to commend Lexus for sticking to its guns and giving things that are just a lot more practical. There are other features. The steering wheel has various touch panels here, so it's similar to what we see in the bigger Lexus models, very easy to adjust. And if you've got that head-up display, as you touch them, it will actually show you on either side what you've got. So you're, generally speaking, your phone, your audio, everything is on this side, and on the right side you have all your driver assistance systems as well. There's a pretty narrow center console, but it's fine. It's perfectly good. You've got that nice small gear selector or drive selector. Here you've got a small electronic handbrake, and you can also select an EV mode, although this is just a regular hybrid, so you're never going to get more than maybe a handful of kilometers from that. But if for whatever reason you have enough charge in the battery and you want to only use it, you do have that as an option to fall back on. There's a small little bit of storage underneath the screen here. You've got one cup holder here. You can also then slide this back and you've got another cup holder and some additional storage under here as well. So it's relatively practical, but it's not exactly full of loads of little cubby holes that you can put stuff in. There's a glove box, which is an okay size. There's a door pocket here as well. Again, you'll get a big enough bottle into it, but that's about it. So it's not the most practical, most capacious thing in the world, but most people will probably find it okay to live with. The overall design and finish, well, it is pretty good. It's more or less to the sort of standard we'd expect from a Lexus, but bearing in mind that this is going to be an entry model Lexus in that respect. I like the design, the idea of the design, that you have the vents that run across here and they kind of run down into the doors, but it's not maybe the most best execution of this. Now, granted, we have to give Lexus a bit of leeway. This is very early pre-production car, so it's not entirely representative of what you're going to get. But overall, it's not bad. It certainly feels, with all the materials, and looks with all the materials, what you would expect to find in a proper premium car. And I mentioned that e-latch system, so it's a great, on the interior of the doors here, you just literally have to press that button, just pops the door open as well. Speaking of which, I'm going to do that and show you what it's like in the back. Now, the rear has relatively good amount of space, but it's not the easiest to get in and out of. It's also a little bit on the dark side when you are sitting back in here. And I've actually got the interior light on as well, just to give you a little bit of an idea. Now, I am around about 5'8", 5'9". I have very good amount of headroom because Lexus doesn't have a glass panoramic roof in here to ease into that space, so that's pretty good. I've actually got a good amount of elbow room as well, but knee room, well, it's average. It's not great. I can just about get my feet in underneath the seat in front, so I can stretch out a little bit, but this is certainly not a huge car in the rear for passengers. Even worse if you're going to be sitting in the middle, because you do have this center console that extends a little bit further back, and because of the positioning of the seat rails, you're a little bit stuck as to where you can actually put your feet. So again, as with many cars in this kind of segment, it's best to think of this as a car for 4 adults rather than 3 adults in the back here, or rather than having 5 adults in total with 3 in the back here. You do get 2 USB-C ports back here. That's pretty handy to keep your items charged up, but there's no air conditioning vents back here either. So, what it gives in one hand, it takes away with the other. There's also no pockets on the backs of the seats here either. Now, not everybody uses them, but if you've got kids or small ones back here and they want to stuff in a tablet or a book or anything like that, there's nowhere really to put it. Equally, the door bins are pretty stingy when it comes to size. There's not a whole lot of room in here. I'll get a drinks bottle in here, but it's only going to be a small one. I do have options of locking my rear door here, and I've got electric rear windows and that e-latch system. So yes, it's good in some ways, but it could be a lot better back here. It's okay, not great though. Also, the 2 outer rear seats, naturally, they are equipped for taking Isofix. They have the requisite mounting points in here, but the doors themselves, they don't actually open to a very wide angle. So if you are going to be a parent trying to reach in and get a seat in here, it's not going to be the easiest thing in the world. And as I mentioned, getting in and out, it's not that easy. I'm not the tallest of people, but right the way this B pillar is, I really have to twist and turn to get myself out, and my feet tend to catch on the bottom of the door. It's just something that could be a little bit better thought out. It's not the most practical aspect in the rear. So that's our first look at the new Lexus LBX. If you want to know more about this car, head over to our website. It's CompleteCar.ie. You'll find it linked in the description below, and it's a great resource for finding your next new car. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed the video and watched it this far, please do give it a thumbs up. More importantly, tell us what you think about it in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.